Welcome to the InFlow podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. So, welcome to the InFlow podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. Every week I get ladies sending me a direct message saying that, they love listening to it and it really fills my heart. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I wanted to talk to you all today about, the engine of your business. What is the engine of your business? And I am here to say that you might be thinking that it is, your customers, that it could be revenue or sales. But I'm here to say that the engine of your business is you. And I wanted to talk to you about something that I have been doing lately and that has been incredibly, immensely helpful in helping me make courageous decisions, helping me kind of get myself out of quicksand and really gain clarity, gain traction, and really pick my head up from the busyness, that sometimes can kind of creep into your schedule. So today is not about any tactic. It's not really, it's really about how you show up during the week. So, there's a question that I have been asking myself lately, and that has been incredibly helpful. And I hope that, that you yourself have a question that you ask yourself that is empowering you every single week. And that becomes your primary question, and that it's a question that, helps you become a better version every single week, and that kind of compounds in its effect every single day, every single month, every single quarter, every single year, so that it can help you, lead your family, lead your business, lead your team in the direction that that you're striving for. Yeah. And so today we're not talking about time blocking. We're not talking about, how to run your schedule, although all those things are important. I'm not talking about an intention for the week, although that is incredibly important. But I'm talking about having the discipline to ask yourself a question such as the next one that I'm going to ask, which is, was the person that I was last week the person that will bring me to the next level? And when I'm asking myself that, I am giving myself grace. I'm giving myself the opportunity to look at my week prior and my performance and how I showed up objectively, without putting myself down, but just looking at, okay, did I show up to the fullest that I know that I can? And if the question is yes, let's continue doing more of that, right? So because we want to do more of the things that we're doing really, really well, and we want to do less of the things that we're not doing very well in. Yeah. And it's a tricky question, in that you need to make sure that you discern or have the discernment to not fall into the gap. And what I mean by that is, sometimes, there is a gap between where we are right now and where we want to go. And sometimes our focus is so much on how much farther that, that horizon line is at of what our end destination and our end goal is, that we actually put ourselves down and do not feel brave and inspired about the actions that we have been taking and how we've been showing up. And so it's important to have a goal, to have a target to move towards, towards to. But you also want to think about also the gap between where you are right now and where you have been. And I think this is where this question, comes from this perspective. Was the person that I was last week the person that will get me to the next level, or was the way that I showed up last week the person that will get me to the next level? Yeah. And it's so easy, to for it to be a slippery slope of putting yourself down. So I want us to start journaling and start thinking about whether there is a question that right now could be running your life that is not super empowering, and how can we rephrase that question? Or if you don't have a question like the one that I just described, to go ahead and take it, adopt it, make it yours, and just ask yourself at the beginning of every week, was the person that I was last week, or how I showed up last week, is that how I need to show up this week to get me to the next level? Whether it be my land business, my real estate investing business, and whatever it is, single family homes or multifamily, or any business whatsoever. This is like I said, it's not a tactic or anything that is specific. It's a fundamental principle on self-awareness and how to really take inspired action every single week, every single day, every single month, every single quarter. And that comes from a place of self-awareness, a place of clarity, and maybe the result of you asking yourself that question is going to be that I haven't delegated enough. That as a result of that, I wasn't feeling inspired last week. That I didn't take inspired action because I didn't have the discipline, or I wasn't in it, or I had so many other things going. And so that kind of question leads to you really assessing the situation and the season that you're in right now, and figuring out, do I need to delegate certain things in my house? Do I need to delegate certain things in my business, in order for me to be able to have the thinking time to even come at my week and my time strategically, and at my goal strategically, from a place of how can I get better every single week? Yeah. So that's pretty much it. It's a little mini golden nugget that I wanted to leave you guys with, that I wanted you to take with you, to adopt, to make yours if you don't have a question such as that one, and to give yourself grace, and to remind you that the engine of your business is you, that you are the one that needs to be responsible for making the courageous choices, making courageous decisions, taking imperfect action, and that nobody is there to do it for you. So as a result of that, how can you get yourself in a state of empowerment? How can you get yourself in a state of inspiration, so that you can continue taking not just imperfect action, but inspired action every single week? And that you look at, the gap between where you are and where you're going, and how can we, shorten that learning curve? What can we do to, close the gap? But also to not forget about the gap between where you are right now and where you have been, and all the things that you have accomplished, and that you've moved forward, regardless of the craziness of your schedule, regardless of crazy things that might happen in your life. Like, for example, for me, I just sprained my ankle, and I'm actually moving a little bit slower as a result of that, quite literally, physically moving slower. And yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in. I am excited to, as always, come to you every single week, with a new perspective, a new golden nugget, a new way of looking at things. And I actually wanted to invite you, if you guys don't know, if you're inside of our Land Profit Generators community, we have an event coming up. It's in person. here in Arizona in October 1st through the 3rd. You can go actually to a discovery call to get your tickets, and you can go to landprofitgenerator.com/discovery/ I believe, and you can set up a call and get yourself a ticket with someone on the team. And I look forward to hopefully, meeting you here in person here in Arizona right now in October. If you're into traveling again, if you are craving this, networking with other individuals, like-minded individuals that have same aspirations, the same goals, the same kind of like vibe, frequency. Go ahead and book yourself a discovery call. And that's Daisy barking, by the way. And thank you so much for another episode. Bye-bye.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.